Hey everybody, today we're going to take a look at your quiz review. Just a reminder, your quiz is tomorrow, which is Tuesday the 7th. Okay, so I am putting up a key as well, but I know sometimes just looking at a key isn't very helpful. So let's talk about this. First of all, our sentence, which you should definitely remember, it'll help you with the terms. Peanut butter cookies are better in milk chocolate and Ovaltine. All right, so this stands for perpendicular bisectors make up your circumcenter. So if you look at the first question, the perpendicular bisectors of ABC meet at point D. So that means that D is your circumcenter. If you have angle bisectors, they make up your incenter. If you have medians, they make up your centroid. And that's where everything's broken up into thirds. And then if you have altitudes, it makes up your orthocenter, which is the same as your heights. All right, so let's just do some practice with this. So we said this is the circumcenter. Perpendicular means you've got 3 right angles here. Well, technically 6, but... And it means that the sides are cut in half, because if it's bisecting your sides, each side is cut in half. So if I want to find... say AE or EB, those are both going to be 11. All right, the other thing with a circumcenter, what it does is it's found by cutting your sides in half, and then it's the same distance or equidistant out to each angle. So if you notice, since this side is 14, this is 14, and this is 14. Okay, they're all the same. So from B to D is 14, and from C to D is also 14. All right, AE is 11. We just said it, cut it in half. And ED, if you look, well, now we have a right triangle right here. All right, so look at the picture. We're looking for ED. Well, if you have 2 sides of a right triangle, you can find the third. So why don't we draw this? Let's kind of just pull that out. So from A to E is 11. From A to D is 14, and you're looking for side ED. Well, when you use Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, whatever's across from your right angle is your hypotenuse, that's your c. So when we set it up, it's x squared plus 11 squared equals 14 squared. All right, so we have x squared plus 121 equals 196. Subtract 121. So x squared equals 75. And then to get rid of the squared, you take the square root of both sides. And when you put that into your calculator, you should get approximately 8.66. It's an irrational number, so it'll go on forever, but let's just round to the nearest tenth, 8.7. All right, so the next one's also dealing with perpendicular bisectors. So perpendicular bisectors, peanut butter cookies, make up your circumcenter again. It might be helpful to make some flashcards for this unit with all these terms. All right, so once again, because we're dealing with the circumcenter, that means that y is the circumcenter, and it's the same distance to each vertex, to each angle. So all of those are 63.9. So that's 63.9, and that's 63.9. And all the sides are cut in half. So let's see what we got. CF. All right, since this is 59.7, this is 59.7, because, again, these are perpendicular bisectors. The sides have been cut in half. YC, so from Y to C, we already talked about that, is 63.9, because it's the same distance out to each angle. DB, 62.8, because it's half of that side. Or, excuse me, that side was cut in half. And then AY, again, to the vertex is 63.9. All right, moving on. Now, this doesn't say what it is, but if you look at the picture, the sides are being cut in half, and the line that cuts them in half goes to the vertex. This is called... Sorry, hold on. Those are called medians. And medians make up your centroid. And the thing with centroid is everything is cut into thirds, okay? So if GP, if we just look at this is 8, then that's the big part. This is 4. Because think of it like this. Basically, you've got 3 congruent sections. The big part's double the small part. So if I wanted to find PL, it would be 4. And GL, the whole thing would be the 4 plus the 8, which is 12. All right, and because they are medians, you'll notice that the sides are being cut in half. So HL, since LJ is 5, HL is also 5. All right. Moving on, angle bisectors. So peanut butter cookies are better in milk chocolate and Ovaltine. I keep saying it because it is helpful. I had a hard time remembering these too until I learned this sentence. All right, so angle bisectors means it's your in-center. And this is the opposite of perpendicular bisectors. With perpendicular bisectors, it cut the side in half and was the same distance to each angle. These cut the angles in half, and it's the same distance to each side. So if this is 21, you'll notice down here, distance from W to side MN, that's also going to be 21. If I had to go out here, that would also be 21. All right, so perpendicular bisectors and angle bisectors are kind of opposite each other. All right, it says WM and WP are angle bisectors. Measure of angle WPN. WPN. So we're looking for this one here. Well, you'll notice I put a 32 down at M because we know they're angle bisectors, so the angle's cut in half. So this whole angle would be 64 degrees. This whole angle is 72, and we know all the angles in a triangle add up to 180. So we could add those up. So if we did 72 and 64, we get 136. And then we'll subtract that from 180, and we get 44. So that means P as a whole is 44. So if it's being bisected, this is 22 and that's 22. So what's the angle measure for WPN? 22 degrees. The angle measure for angle MWK is right here. Well, it's not cut in half, but I can see that I have, 2 of them, right? 90 and 32. So if I add those up, that gives me 122. And we're dealing with a triangle, so all the angles in any triangle, no matter their size, add up to 180. So we'll subtract that 122, and we get 58 for that one right there. And it's an angle measure, so we put degrees. All right, the distance from W to MN, we already talked about that. Since it's 21 to this side, it's 21 to all the sides. Oh, sorry, I just noticed this D should have been up here. Sorry about that. P is the centroid. Probably like, what is she talking about with this? It gets shifted when I move from a Word document to a Google document. So again, centroid is made up of medians. All right, and this was made up of angle bisectors, so W is our in-center. Our better in. All right, next one, if you notice, these are congruent, these are congruent, these are congruent. So that means that these are connecting the midpoints, and anything that connects midpoints is called a mid-segment because it's a segment that's midway through your triangle. So ST is a mid-segment. That's not part of our peanut butter cookies sentence, so you'll have to keep that straight. Now remember, with a mid-segment, each mid-segment is parallel to one of the other sides, and is half of it. So if we look, this side over here, PR is 24, so that means this is 12 and this is 12. And that means this is 12 as well, because if you look, you're dealing with a parallelogram. Okay? All right, so ST is 12. QR. Well, if again, you're dealing with another mid-segment. It's connecting the midpoints of those two sides. So it's parallel and half of this side here. So if this is 11, these are both 11, and the whole thing is 22. So QR is 22. Notice I'm not putting degrees because they're not angles. P to U is 12. I already have it marked in my picture. Now your angles. Since you're dealing with parallel lines, you're dealing with, we're going back a couple chapters, we have alternate interior, we have corresponding. Let's see what we've got. They gave us this angle here. They're looking for SUP. S to U to P. So if you look, that's like having these two angles here. They're alternate interiors. So that's 55 also. Because again, your mid segments are not only half, but they're parallel. All right, because they were alternate interior. You don't have to know that or write that down, but it's good to know the connection. All right, the measure of angle SUR. SUR. Oh, that's this one right here. Well, if you notice, these together form a straight line, so they're a linear pair. So if I know that one's 55, I can just do 180 minus 55, and we get 125. Again, it's an angle, so we'll label it with degrees. And then finally, the measure of angle PRQ. PRQ is right here. Let's compare to this guy here. They're both parallel on parallel lines. They're both on the left side, so their corresponding angles are both 55 degrees also. So on this picture, it'd be like having this angle and this angle. Okay, and again, those were all formed by mid-segments. All right, this next part, it wants you to figure out what the centroid is. The easiest way to figure out the centroid, and actually you can't use the graph for this particular question because it doesn't work out, but the centroid is made up of medians. Oops, that's a horrible circle. Medians. So think about medians, midpoint. If you wanted to find the midpoint, you would just add them and divide by 2. Well, if I want to find the center of all three of these, you just take them, add, and divide by 3. It does say to use the graph, but again, when I did this out, unfortunately, I didn't give you a good set of points that work out. So we'll just do it this way. This is the way I always find my centroid. So we add them up. 6 and 6 is 12. Minus 4 gives us 8. 3 and 5 is 8. Okay, hold on. Negative 5, sorry. This would give us negative 5 and negative 5 is negative 10. Plus 3 is negative 7. So when we go to divide these by 3, you'll see that it's not a very nice point. 8/3 and negative 7/3. We would not have seen that on the graph. But basically your centroid, you just add them all up and divide by 3. Because again, think medians, midpoint, add and divide by 3 because there's 3. Now, again, your sentence, peanut butter cookies are better in milk chocolate and Ovaltine. Circumcenters that first one. Peanut butter cookies, it's made up of perpendicular bisectors. So think about what that means. If they want you to draw the circumcenter or find it, draw the perpendicular bisectors. It cuts a side in half. So let's look at this bottom side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Half of 10 is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there it's bisecting it, and if it's perpendicular to it, since it's going straight across, we're going to go straight up and down. There's a perpendicular bisector. Do the same thing for PQ. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4 would be cutting it in half. There's the bisect portion. Perpendicular to a line going straight up and down would be straight across. The point where those meet, which also happens to be the midpoint of that third side, is your circumcenter. So it's going to have the coordinates 1, -1. Don't forget your parentheses. For the orthocenter, it's made up of altitudes, which are just the height. Well, what's the height of this side? Right here. What's the height of this side if we turn it? Right here. Where do they come together? Point Q, which has the coordinates 2, 4, 6, -2, 4, 5. Okay, orthocenter is where your heights come together. Circumcenter is where your perpendicular bisectors come together. And then you've got your important terms down here. Incenter is your angle bisectors. It's the same distance to each side. Circumcenter is made up of perpendiculars. It's the same distance to each angle. These are opposite each other. The centroid is made up of medians, but again, it's cut into thirds. All right, so if you've got a little part and a big part, if this is 1, the big part's 2, okay? Orthocenter is altitudes, and midsegment is connecting your midpoints. And it's parallel in half the distance. All right, that's it. Your quiz is tomorrow. Make sure you take a look at this. And if you have any questions, stop by and see me. Have a great day.